So being in the food delivery business, one of the big components is traffic. So you always want to be wary with traffic. This is lunch traffic, so it's a little early. There could be hazard, could be something going on, we don't know. Don't panic, especially if you have an order. I do think that if you do have food order and you're in traffic, the company should know that there's human error. And it's not, traffic isn't necessarily human error. I always think of the movie with Tom Hanks where he flies the plane into that little area in New York and has water in it. I think it's not the Hudson or the East River. I don't know what he landed in. He landed in some kind of water. But anyway, he played a character in that. I can't think of the name. I was thinking about it the other day. Tom Hanks movies are sometimes hard to remember. Captain something. Anyway, he lands in the water, and New York is around, and there's a bunch of people around. Playing some guy named Smitty, or something like that. Anyway, regardless, the name's not important. There was human error that they didn't calculate correctly. You know, he had to take a breath, pull the lever, maybe use the restroom. Things that he had to do before he landed. It took a little more time than usual. So once they calculated a human error, they realized, oh yeah, Tom Hanks isn't exactly a robot. Or the character wasn't exactly a robot. I'm just going to go straight. And once they did all the calculating for human error, they realized that it wasn't his fault. That he didn't do it on purpose. Because they were saying that, you know, he flew the plane on purpose into the water to become famous or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he did. I don't know. It's hard to say. Probably should have turned there because now I'm turning around this way. If you make one wrong turn in delivery, all of a sudden it's your fault. There's no getting through that traffic. Who knows what pet animal ran out in the middle of the road, caused an accident. Ooh, look at this guy. Where's he going? Now, I'm not going to go there because I'm not authorized, but I could have gone down this way if I was really gung-ho, all Dukes of Hazzard. Like that guy ran off that way. Almost remember the name for a second. It was on the tip of my tongue. It's a Tom Hanks movie. Anyway, he plays a pilot, and he has to fly an airplane into some water. And in New York, he also used to jog around and stuff like that. I think I can actually turn right. Ooh, there's a house. No wonder there's so much traffic. There's a house on the middle of the highway. See it? See the house right there? Somebody left their house on the highway. So anyway, that's what happened. A lot of these things, you know, they can send this message. Say, hurry up, looks like you're standing still. No, it's not standing still, it's just human error. Looks like we're gonna have to turn all the way around and get back into traffic. See, I'm showing you, I'm not working right now. At this present moment, I'm about to start in a few minutes. But I'm trying to show you, if you miss one wrong turn, how long it can take to get your food. See what happens? Something happens with the traffic. It's not reported to the company doesn't know. They think you're at Sonic eating a hamburger. But you're not. You know, they gotta trust the person. There's some human error. Have some grace period, you know? Show some respect to the delivery driver. Have you ever seen the movie Irishman with Robert De Niro? You know, they never know what type of delivery driver it is. Because the type of delivery driver that goes off to bridges and throws things in the water. That kind of guy. You know what I mean? But, regardless, we're going to try to turn around here and do the whole thing again. Because, actually, you know what? I know another way. Because I know the town. I was raised around here. I'm going to avoid that direction. And I'm going to, well, I got a yellow light. I'm going to go straight down this way. And flip all the way around. It's called 820. 820 circles. Entire city of Fort Worth. I have been to the spirit world ride. I have seen Please Subscribe show.
I'm Linda.
And I'm Cole. And today's journey is going to be fun. So the movie that I was talking about human error, it's a movie called Sully. It sounds like silly, but Sully. It should have been Captain Sully. The other one he played was called Captain Phillips. It's a whole different movie. Both have to do with transportation. Actually, Tom Hanks has played a lot of movies that have to do with transportation. A lot of them. Even Castaway. He worked for FedEx. Regardless, we're going to go through a cool little bridge up here. Isn't that nice? Isn't that something? Kind of wondered why I was going this way, and it's because God always gets his way in the end. That's what we realize in this long struggle, this long pilgrim's progress, is that God wins in the end. So whether we like it or not, we end up right where he wants us to be for whatever reason that may be. Now, this is a church called St. Paul's Lutheran Church, where I get my little sermon. I get a little sermon tip the day as I drive by. It's pretty interesting that churches do this. I'm glad they do. So this one today says, wisdom better than strength. It's from Ecclesiastes 9:16. So Ecclesiastes 9:16 was a letter. It all comes from a letter. It's like a letter you write home to. Paul was in prison and decided to write a letter. I was able to hang on to it with this little thing right here. Anyway, here we go. To sit in solemn silence on a dull, dark dock in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. Susie sells seashells by the seashore. Susie sells seashells by the seashore, whether the weather be cold or whether the weather be hot. Well, whether the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. A big black bug bit a big black bear, and the big black bear bled blood. A big brown bug bit a big brown bear, and the big brown bear bled blood. A big brown bug bit a big black bear, and the big black bear bled blood. A big black bug bit a big brown bear, and the big brown bear bled blood. Hard to do. Unique, New York. New York, unique. Unique, New York, yeah. That's the hardest. Unique, New York, New York, unique. Unique, New York, New York, unique. You gotta go back and forth, 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 back and forth. Cherry Lane, Green Oaks, Altamere, Lockhead. Cherry Lane, Green Oaks, Altamere, Lockhead. That's a good one. Ridgemar Mall. Ridgemar Mall. Ridgemar Mall. Ridgemar Mall. That's another good one. Oh, the tongue twisters. See, back in the day when the actor was at his prime, the days of Cary Grant, just right before Marlon Brando, maybe a little bit. Lots of aircraft flying overhead. The actor savored his words and spoke it out. They were all basically Shakespearean trained. And then Marlon Brando came about and started going, and everyone was like, brilliant, give him an Oscar now. And they did. It's not good because the actor needs to be heard and understood so that the writer gets credit. But what Brando was trying to say, and I guess Stella Adler, because she hated the types of actors that would go in there that had Shakespearean trained acting. She did like Shakespeare. But Stella would yell at the actors, we don't go to the theater for the words. We do not go to the theater to hear people speak. Which is true. And she would yell at them. Because they wanted to change the face of humankind. The other guy that goes talk like this, you know, a long time ago, before Stella Adler and all those, they'd probably laugh Brando off the stage, tell him to get a job. And Brando thought, I was satisfied, but then Stella said, brilliant! That's exactly what I want. This guy that mumbles and lays down on the ground. Well, he was kind of that way. He would lay down in the middle of acting class, and everyone was like, what is he doing? Because he was relaxing. But she realized she wanted this guy that was relaxed, and you couldn't understand a word he said, and that's perfect. So the writer couldn't get a word in edgewise. Actually, Brando did write a lot of his own monologues. It was when she gave it back to the actor, because Brando was understood in a different way, not by just words, but by human behavior. That the human behavior was more important than the words. And that's what Stella Adler was trying to say. Because you can cast spells on people in a way, you know, you can mess with the way they think by giving out all these different words. But then again, you have Laurence Olivier and a bunch of other actors that you could understand everything they said, and they were still just as brilliant as Marlon Brando. And what I'm trying to say is that there's a fun aspect of acting where you learn to play on words, and not only that, but you learn to speak well. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And Brando could speak quite clearly. He was very well understood. He didn't have really any impediments or anything. He was just so brilliant in the fact that he was so relaxed. This kind of hyper-nasal kind of thing about it. And so that came out, and it was part of an acceptance, or it was accepted. It was part of the American theater, and then it became a part of cinema, and then it became something that people could do rather than just work on speech and sound clear and stand around like, you know, Cary Grant or something. There's nothing wrong with Cary Grant. Another thing too, Jimmy Stewart had like a little bit of a stutter. He would, well, I was doing Brando right there. Brando doing Jimmy Stewart. Yes, but Brando was Jimmy Stewart. Okay, but Jimmy Stewart would kind of stutter. He was a very intelligent man, but he would stutter. You know, and so people were like, "What is this?" So it started to develop that you could have a hang-up. It was okay for a character to have a hang-up, to have a flaw. And when you see Brando in an interview, he had his own flaws that came out. He wasn't ashamed of getting angry or questioning the interviewer. Like, why do you ask that question? Like, what, because you're supposed to in a TV show or a job interview, or not a job interview. What am I trying to say? In an audition, not an audition, but in a television show where you're interviewed. It's not really a job interview. Well, it kind of is for an actor. It's kind of a job interview. But, in an interview situation, he was always asking the person that was interviewing, like, they would ask him, like, well, Brando, is Marlon Brando your real name? And he'd say, well, why would you ask that question? Because you're the star of the show. We can ask you questions. I was watching all of that Cavett guy, Dick Cavett, the DC show. And he was talking to Brando and asking him these questions. You people that interview people, you're always asking. And Dick Cavett's like, well, we're supposed to do that. And Brando's like, well, I don't understand the question. I don't. Why would you want to ask a question like that? He was questioning the aspect of how people thought in the first place. I don't know if it was LSD or what he had taken, which he did take some of that. Brando did take LSD. See, back in the day, LSD, invented in the 1950s, it was like Zoloft. It was like Prozac. It was not invented to be a recreational drug to go off and have fun and take. It was invented to help people free up their mind, and so that they would get past a hang-up that they may have had, like a mental impediment. So there were a lot, Timothy Leary and a bunch of other people, even Cary Grant, were experimental in the fact that LSD was good for society. Of course, then it became illegal, just like Zoloft will become illegal and Prozac will become illegal too, because they mess with people's serotonin levels. And eventually they'll probably outlaw lithium as well. But because they're unhealthy and it's not a very good thing to always, be sitting around, I think it was Jordan the Lion just did a whole documentary about Cary Grant taking like 100 tabs of acid or something, like over a period of his life. He had dropped acid like 100 times. It could be true. I don't know. No one really knows. Only Cary Grant would know, and he's been burned and spread his ashes in some river or some body of water or something. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is that Marlon Brando, which I know a lot about, probably more than most people, but Marlon Brando questioned society. He questioned thought, how we even think and behave with one another. And Stella Adler helped him do that, because Stella Adler discovered his genius in her class. He was far advanced as an actor. When she got a hold of him, she realized this guy's one of the best, And a lot of other acting teachers would have said otherwise. James Dean was not looked upon when he first got in acting class. He was not. James Dean was looked at as a bad actor. That's why he went to New York. LA did not like him. So when he went to New York and started studying with us, he was probably in the New School area, but he studied with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio. That's when he started developing the method, kind of relaxed kind of way of being. Marlon Brando was there too, and was very upset when James Dean came to fame, because James Dean never experienced his mega fame. Brando did. Brando experienced how famous James Dean became. And when James Dean became more famous than Marlon Brando, by that time James Dean was already dead, Brando became very jealous and told everyone, the media and everybody, that James Dean was ripping off his style. The style that he did, the thing that he did, that he was ripping off his own style. And James Dean really wasn't. That's kind of what the studio was like. They were teaching, oddball gestures, and they weren't really teaching people to have oddball gestures or to talk funny. They knew that people did. And maybe people were bent over, maybe they picked their nose or something would go on, and they knew that people did that. So they were trying to include that as part of their art, as part of human behavior. And then it became almost like regulation, where if you don't have that, then you can't be an actor. And that's not true either, because you have geniuses like Jim Carrey, who's just as method, but doesn't always follow the laws of doing what meaning not the laws like the law that you write, but the regulation, the behavior, right? I'm not saying law like a lawyer kind of thing. I'm saying the behavior of people, right? So Jim Carrey started basically questioning, I wouldn't say commedia, but putting stand-up in reality. So when he played a character like Andy Kaufman, for example, all of a sudden this guy has this weird, odd behavior, like Andy Kaufman was very strange. But with Jim Carrey, it just came naturally, because some people are that amped, and there's some people that act very strange in regular day life, and we're like, that guy is acting really weird. I've seen it all the time. And that's what Jim Carrey was bringing about. So every actor has their thing that they bring to the table. Everyone from Marlon Brando to Jim Carrey, Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was also very comedic and almost comedic dell'arte kind of thing. And that doesn't define an actor. The actor's behavior does not define the actor. The actor is the actor because they do it.